Okay, this video will cover the three Khan Academy topics: distance between 2 points, which we'd gone over in class before all this happened, the midpoint formula, and dividing line segments. So let's take a look at distance between 2 points. So if you're being asked to find the distance between two coordinate points, there's a couple ways we can do it. We can go ahead and plot it on a coordinate grid. So let's go to 4, 7. There's 4, 7, and then 2, 2. And if we're trying to find that distance, we can go ahead and use the Pythagorean theorem. We go ahead and we draw our triangle. And we know that this distance is 2. This distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we want to know this distance between those 2 points. So essentially what we're going to have is we're going to have 2 squared plus 5 squared is equal to d squared, right? So we have 4 plus 25 is equal to d squared. 29 equals d squared. So the distance is the square root of 29. Now, if you didn't want to go ahead and draw this out on the coordinate grid, how could we figure that out just using the numbers that were provided here? Well, essentially what you do is you use the distance formula, which is in the notes I provided you, and it's this, right? We have the square root of the change in the x value squared plus the change in the y value squared. And we essentially are just going to call this point 1, so that's x1, y1. We're going to call this point 2, x2, y2. So if we just plug into this formula, x2 minus x1, 2 minus 4 squared, plus y2 minus y1, 2 minus 7 squared. And what you end up with is negative 2 squared plus negative 5 squared, which if you work that out, you end up with 4 plus 25, the square root of 29, which is the exact same thing we had up here. What I like to do is I just like to find the distance from 2 and 7, that's 5. And the distance from 2 to 4, that's 2. And just square those values. Done. Our answer would be here. So now how do we find the midpoint between 2 points? So we have negative 1, 8, which I put here on the graph, and 7, 3, which I also put here on the graph. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to find the average between the two numbers. So in order to do that, we're going to take negative 1 and add it to 7, divide by 2, and that's going to give me my new x coordinate. So that's going to be 6 divided by 2. And then we're going to take 8 plus 3 and divide by 2. 8 plus 3 is 11 divided by 2, so that's 5.5. And what you'll find is if we go to 3, 5.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, we are at the midpoint of AB. Dividing line segments. This is a little tricky. So A is at negative 7, 3, which is right here. And B is at negative 1, 0. B is between A and C, some point C, which has to be over here somewhere. The ratio of AB to BC is 3 to 1. Where is C? Okay, so A to B is 3 times longer than B to C. So here's what we need to know. We need to know what the vertical displacement is and what the horizontal displacement is. So to go from A to B, I went down 3 units. So to go down to C, if this is 3 to 1, to get to C, I go down only 1 unit. And then I went horizontally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So if I went down 6, and if this ratio is 3 to 1, I need to divide this by 3, right? It's only a third of that horizontal displacement. So I went down 1 and I'm going to go over 2. So that is where C is. And if we look at it, it looks like it really is 3 to 1. Right? I went down 3 over 6, so this goes down 1 over 2. So C is at 1, negative 1. Another type of problem, we want to find B on AC. So B is somewhere on this line. If AB is only 1/5 of AC. So let's find our displacement. It looks like we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Over 15, right? So instead of going over 15, we're going to go over only 3 because we want 1/5 of that, okay? And then we went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of going up 5, we're going to go up only 1. And B is right here. So let's see, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 7. Okay.